Hey guys, you ever walking your dog? I'm walking Loaf. See, in the middle of the night, we kind of come out here, and I don't make him wear a leash because there's no dogs out here, so it's our midnight stroll. But you ever do something like that where you're just walking around and then you start like having conversations in your head? Not like crazy ones, but like you're, a psycho, but you just like have little conversations in your head with yourself. That's what I do. And I was thinking about how I got started as a First Amendment auditor. And then it inspired me to want to make this video because it has to do with duality. So today's video, we're going to talk about duality. And I've talked about duality a lot on this channel, but I'm going to correlate it with my story on how I became a First Amendment auditor. So, and sorry, it's really dark here. So, and Loaf's really good about not running in the street, but I'm not a bad dog dad, I promise. He knows his stuff. He doesn't run in the street. But anyways, so how I started is, and then after I explain to you this, then I'll break it down and how it works out with duality, okay? Duality is dual, good, bad, up, down, left, right, you, me, here, there, hot, cold, man, female, man, woman, right? Everything has a duality. The 3D reality that we lived in is dualistic by nature, okay? So what you are is your soul, right? That's what you are. Pure consciousness, because you're a 3-part triune being, body, mind, and soul. But you're really just your soul. You're not your body or your mind, right? Those are just possessions you have. You have a body and you have a mind, but you're not your thoughts. You're the one observing the thought, right? You're the one that's aware that the thought exists. That's you, okay? So like when you see an astronaut, whether you believe in the moon landing stuff or not, but let's just say for the sake of it, you see an astronaut, no one says, hey, look, there's a spacesuit. Guys, look at the spacesuit. Right? That's what people do, though. They're like, hey, look at that guy. Look at that guy. Right? Or look at that girl. She has a nice body. Like they associate like their body like as them in their mind as like what they are. But that's not what we are. No one says, hey, look at the spacesuit. They say, hey, look at the astronaut. Right? He's an astronaut, but he has a spacesuit. Okay, so now you know what duality is. So duality is, sorry, one more thing. So the 3D is duality, but you, the soul, is singularity, pure consciousness. That's singular, right? But then the mind is duality, okay? All right. So how I became a First Amendment auditor, I was an electrician, and I was going through this really bad depression. I was having like girl problems, and I didn't really like being an electrician very much. I kind of just got forced into it, and it was good. It was a really good job. I had good benefits, good pay, PTO, paid holidays, everything, right? But I just wasn't happy, and it got so bad that I ended up, again, I had good benefits. I was taking this like leave. It's like psychiatric leave. There's a term for it. I can't think of it. But I think I took like 6 weeks off or something like that, and it was all paid. I got like a portion of my paycheck, and I was going to counseling and stuff, and it was time to go back to work, and I really did not want to go back to work. I was like, I hate being an electrician. I don't want to do it. And what happened was, while I was like on my leave or whatever from work, I did that park ranger video. I was at the park with Minnie. We were the only ones in the park, no one there, and the park ranger lady came up. It's a controversial video. Some people love it, some people hate it, but that was my first video. And I was like, I've been watching First Amendment audits, and I was like, I pull my phone out, gotta record. And that so started it. And I threw that video up on the internet, and it got like 20 views or something like that. And then out of the blue, it had like 2,000 views. I was like, what? And everyone in the comment section is like, oh, cameras everywhere sent me. Cameras everywhere sent me. And I was like, who's cameras everywhere? And I looked it up, cameras everywhere, and I was already subscribed to him. I was like, oh, okay, I've seen this guy before. He's a showcaser. And that gave me some confidence, right? I was like, oh, okay, you know, maybe I could do something else. Hey, how's it going? And so when it was time to go back to work, I was at such a low point that I had nowhere else to go but up, was up. And so I was like, I'm not going to be an electrician. I can't stand it. I hate it. So I just threw a Hail Mary, dude. Sometimes when you're at such a low point, you have no choice but to just take a risk, right? Like I could go nowhere but up from there. And I was like so bad that I was willing to risk everything. My stability, you know, I was making good money. I didn't have anything else to do. I could either go back into the pizza business, but I couldn't really do that because of another story I don't want to get into. But that's my only skills, was the pizza business and an electrician. So I was like, luckily I didn't have that much bills. So I just threw the Hail Mary, and then I was like, I'm just going to be an auditor. Forget it. I'll try. What else do I have to lose, right? So I started doing it just with my cell phone recording. Had a couple videos, you know, those ones got, I think I had one other one had like 17,000 views. It was like just for my cell phone. I didn't know how to edit. I just threw stuff up raw, and then I didn't know how to edit. So I had to like stop recording and then wait for the boring part to be over of what I thought, and then press record. And I do like part 1 and part 2. I didn't know how to edit anything. And I was like, my audio on my cell phone was terrible, right? So I was like, it was because I had a really bad phone. It was an iPhone SE, like the one after the iPhone 5. So I was like, I'm going to just go and get like a little like camcorder, like nothing fancy, right? Just something that I could hook a good mic up to, because I didn't even know that you could hook mics up to cell phones. When I first started this, I was like completely like illiterate when it comes to like phones and computers and editing, all that stuff, cameras. So I thought I had to get a camcorder. So I went and just got a camcorder, but then, you know, next thing you know, I ended up getting, you know, the rig. I ended up spending like $1,500. I had the freaking gimbal and a nice mic, and I ended up getting a way better camera than I thought I was going to get. And, you know, a little monopod, everything, right? And so I started doing some audits. I did the one at the DMV with the Indian lady. And then I sent that to San Joaquin, and he showcased it. And I started getting all this traction, right? And right when he showcased that, I just recorded the first Belmar library video. So all these people were coming over from San Joaquin, and they already seen pretty much that first video at the DMV. But then they had this Belmar library video that just dropped, and it was a banger. I had like 92,000 views in like 3 days. And mind you, I had like 3,000 subscribers. I just barely started. So they came over from that video just to say hi and subscribe. And they had this brand new video, Belmar Library, which was a banger and a half. And then that video got taken down for a privacy complaint, and I was never able to get it back. That would have been like hundreds of thousands of views. It was still doing like thousands of views per hour when it got taken down at 92,000. So, and that's it, dude. That's my story. So from there, I got monetized like a month or two later. In the first month, I made like $300. And then the second month, I made like $1,200. And then the third month, I made $4,000. And I was like, cool, dude, like $4,000. I can live on $4,000 a month, right? So I was like, cool, I'm a First Amendment auditor. And that's how I started. So what I'm saying, what made me think about that, about it being tied with duality, is that the universe is always trying to balance itself out, right? Yin and yang, right? Hot, cold, good, bad. So when people are like really doing really great, you know, like they're way up there, you know, they'll say every time something really good is happening, you know, and I'm doing good, then something just comes and wrecks it, right? You guys notice that? It's called a tower moment. And it's because the universe has to balance itself out. So the way that you can you'll never be able to prevent that. You're going to have to go through bad times, period. You can soften the cushion, you know, you can soften the blow a little bit, but you're either going to choose facilitate your bad times, or you can just let them come at you the way they're going to, but they're going to, right? No matter how rich you are, money doesn't buy happiness, right? Which is proof of, you know, I was making good money as an electrician. I wasn't happy. It does put a good down payment on some, but it does not buy happiness. So you're going to get the bad times, but what you can do is when the bad times come, don't just pretend like they don't exist. Like sit with it for a minute and just recognize it. Okay, this is a bad time. It's not the end of the world though. Don't sit there and fester on it and be like, oh, it's so bad, because now you're just attracting more badness, right? And you're gonna make it worse. But you just acknowledge it and let it go, right? And that helps kind of keep you in balance, right? But when the bad times come, people like fester on it, and it just creates all this huge bad stuff, right? So anyways, I was down so low for so long. I was so depressed, and everything was bad. Like I said, I was having girl problems, everything, right? That the universe had to balance itself out. And I went the opposite. I went up, right? And then of course I've had my ups and downs since, but that's my story, guys. That's duality in action, right? So when things are really, really bad, use that as, hey, I can only go up from here, right? The universe has to balance itself out. Always think of the positive side of things. Like, hey, I can only go up from here. And if you're ever in that situation, throw that Hail Mary like I did. Because like I said before, if you want something you've never had, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. And that's what I did. I just did something that I've never done. But it was a point of desperation. Like I said, it was a Hail Mary. I was just willing to try anything because there's no way I was going to go back to being an electrician. I risked it all, dude. My livelihood is either I make it or I don't. That's my desperation. Either I make it or I don't, because I'm not going to go be an electrician. So either I make this happen or I'm screwed and I lose my house and I go move back in with mom, I guess. But it was a risk. And people who take risks, without the risk, there's no reward. And if you look at CEOs, this is a fact, guys. I've done a lot of research on this. CEOs have higher testosterone than like average Joes, typically, right? And one of the reasons why they're so successful is because people with high testosterone are more likely to take risks. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful all the time, but you're willing to take the risk if you have higher testosterone levels. So I'm not saying that I have really high testosterone, but what I'm saying is I took a risk, right? And it worked. So sometimes you have to take a risk, guys. Again, if you want something you've never had, you have to be willing to do something you've never done. So when you're down in the dumps like that, throw the Hail Mary, man. Take it as an opportunity. Do something. And if there's a will, there's a way. I was so intimidated. I had to figure out how to edit videos. I didn't know. I was like hiring this dude to come teach me stuff. And like, I was like, I'm not going to be able to keep up with this. He like edited that first video for me. And like, I was trying to have him teach me. And it was like, I was paying him all this money and I didn't really learn much. And I was like, And I was like, forget it, dude. Like if there's a will, there's a way. I was like, I have to just figure it out. And I just started watching YouTube videos. And like, I just started figuring it out, dude. Like when I first started too, and I got all my stuff, I got some editing software and like my computer. I didn't know anything about it. I had this really crappy computer and there's no way it could handle Premiere Pro. So I had to go to the library and I edited videos at the library for like the first year and a half of my channel before I finally bought a computer. And like if you guys go look at my very first videos, go to my channel on the DMA channel and go to oldest and watch a few of those and compare them to these ones, right? If I can do it, I didn't know a thing about editing. I didn't know a thing about uploading a YouTube video. Like it took me forever to figure it out. But if I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm not just talking about auditing. I'm talking about anything that you want to do. If there's a will, there's a way. You know how they say you can be anything that you want? You just have to believe it. It's so true, guys. You have to believe it for real, though. Like, do you really believe that you can wake up tomorrow or that you can make, $1 million next month? It's possible. It literally is. The law of attraction. You can make $1 million in 1 month. But do you actually really believe that? You have to start small, right? You're probably, if you make $50,000 a year right now, you're probably not going to truly believe that you can make $1 million next month, right? So you have to start small until you start believing it. And then eventually you can attract anything you want. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. And Remember, that is a good little lesson about duality. We live in a world that's dualistic by nature. You can't have good without bad, guys. You're going to get bad no matter what. So you have to make the best of the bad that you get, and you should be thankful for the bad times, because when it's bad, that means that the universe is balancing itself out, and that means you have to go back up. And always be kind of weary when things are going really good, because you know that the universe has to balance itself out, and eventually something bad's going to happen. But remember what I said, when it does happen, what do? You acknowledge it. Okay, evil. Okay, bad. I see you're there, but I'm not going to give you too much of my energy, or really any, but I'm going to at least acknowledge you. When you don't even acknowledge it, when you either fester on it or you don't even acknowledge it, oh, you're not there, right? That's how you have more bad times too, because you're not acknowledging it. So then if you don't acknowledge it, the universe can't balance itself out, right? Because you didn't acknowledge it. So you have to at least acknowledge. Make sense? I hope I'm making sense here, guys. So anyways, that's my video. First video I'll put on the Empirical Miracle channel in a long time. If you like my content, subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Namaste. Love and light. Peace. Probably won't do any editing and effects. I'm just going to throw it up raw, but see you guys.